First time was in 2011, right after I'd graduated from college. I was doing a gap year, and I had a friend who was living there at the time who thought that I would really enjoy it. So I decided to go check it out for what was going to be 2 months. And after those 2 months, I wanted to stay a bit longer and decided to stay for half a year. And a half a year turned into 1 year, 2 years, 3 years, and now I've been there for almost 9. First impression, I think when I got off the plane and took the airport express from the airport in Beijing to the city center was just like how big everything was. The city's huge. From the city center, you could basically go an hour, hour and a half in any direction and still be in Beijing. And just seeing how there was so much construction going on. In the US, Washington, D.C., and San Francisco, Silicon Valley, the places that I've lived, it's much more mature, I guess. Like, there isn't that much new construction going on, especially on the scale that you see in Beijing and Shanghai, skyscrapers going up. And like that for me was the really cool thing, just seeing actual, high speed development happening from day to day. I was in Sanya, actually. I had gone with my wife and my in-laws. We were just taking a little vacation. So I think we went the week before Spring Festival, actually, to avoid the rush. And while we were there, we started hearing all the news. People started getting a little bit nervous, started wearing masks. And we basically just kind of locked ourselves up in the hotel because, they started saying, like, don't go out. Everybody was wearing masks. So I didn't actually get to see much of Sanya. It was my first time there, but I went to like one tourist place and there were still so many people. We just decided, forget it, went back to the hotel, and we just had a very low-key Chinese New Year. I think the biggest difference, obviously, is that people in Asia in general are a lot more used to wearing masks. They've gone through, SARS, they've gone through just having pollution. So wearing a mask is a very normal thing, whereas in the US, it's not something that we're familiar with. People just assume that wearing a mask correlates to being sick. So it kind of did result in a lot of, I guess, anti-Chinese or anti-Asian sentiment at the beginning. And, even till now, it's September, and a lot of people still aren't sure if masks are important, if they work. Whereas in Asia, in China, in South Korea, and Japan, people were told to wear masks, and they were just like, all right, I'm going to wear a mask and I'm not going to go out. And that was it. Like, they didn't need to be convinced. And here we're still fighting 7 months later about whether it's useful or not. Masks have been very politicized throughout this whole thing, right? I mean, if you kind of divide it between left and right, or Democrat and Republican, whatever, there's a very clear divide. Liberals tend to wear masks without as much question, I guess. And then conservatives are following the lead of Trump, who didn't want people to wear them, or he saw it as a sign of weakness. And if the guy that you look up to, who you admire, is telling you that this is a sign of weakness, that we don't need them, you're gonna listen to him. Plus the fact that we've actually had mixed messages from the very beginning. Fauci, who most people in the US, I would say, trust, the majority of people, he said in the beginning, you shouldn't wear a mask. And he said we should wear a mask. And then, we've gotten so many mixed messages that it's very difficult for people who are already reluctant from the start to really just take this at face value and say, like, okay, yeah, I'm going to wear a mask, because it's been mixed the whole time. I got in on February 2nd. So it was actually the day that the ban on non-American citizens began.
Right.
And I got in with my wife about an hour and a half after that ban started. So it was actually kind of like a questionable situation, because when we got to the airport in Beijing, they told us, oh, your wife can't go because she's a Chinese citizen. So like, oh, well, like, this is our marriage certificate. And it actually took a really long time to get sorted out, because obviously it all happened really fast, right? Trump announced that this ban was happening, and then 3 days later it went into effect. When we landed in the airport in Washington, D.C., the same thing. Like, they had a meeting right in front of us at customs because they didn't know what was going on. The whole mask thing, everything became politicized. and people didn't want to close the economy down. I think it's a reasonable response because people, they need their livelihoods, right? They need to work. And we don't have that kind of same experience that people in Asia do. So I don't really like fault people for wanting to work and all that, because we got really mixed messages. And I think that's where the failure of the government has come in, is that we never got this one united message from the left, from the right, from, you know, the president's office all the way down to the governors, the mayors. Everybody's been saying different things, and it's leading to confusion. And I think that's where we failed. I would say that we failed because we had a lot of information early on, and, you know, Trump closed the borders. Okay, you can call it a good thing. But after that, we didn't have testing for a month. The first batch of testing kits was broken. And after that, we weren't really told that we needed to wear masks. The shelter-in-place orders or the lockdowns, they weren't lockdowns. They said, okay, yeah, you should stay at home unless you have to do this or this or this or this or this. You're walking your dog, or you're exercising, or you need to go, you know, buy alcohol, or you need to go to church. And I know those things are important to people, but the fact that we didn't have strict rules, in my opinion, just contributed to lots and lots of death. It was a failure. It's two things. One good side and one bad side is people have come together. People have gone to help those who can't go out, people who are maybe immunocompromised, or people who are just stuck at home because of their age. And I think that's happened all over the world. You know, people who can help do help. And that's good. You know, that makes people feel better in a time where it's very stressful, it's worrisome. And, you know, sometimes kids might not be near their parents, but there are other people that might come in and help them out a little bit. Just in the middle of Wuhan, a lot of hotels that, you know, didn't have any clients or any people staying there, they decided to offer them up for the doctors who were working 24-hour, 48-hour, 72-hour shifts. A lot of taxi drivers, they offered to drive people to the hospitals and back for free. A lot of delivery guys, they were delivering food. Restaurants were giving food away because everybody needed to come and help out. And I think that was something that's really, you know, it's really touching, and it's also just really impressive to see how everybody in a time of like complete and utter crisis came together. So, I mean, I work with 外国人研究协会, so called Why China. It's a bunch of expats who live in China. We really like living there. We like sharing kind of culture with people. And a couple of my friends, you know, Raz is from Israel. He got a lot of Israeli companies to donate masks for, you know, Wuhan, or actually for Hubei province. So the first thing I'm going to do is go back to China. I'd like to travel around a little bit because I love traveling. I love talking to people, and I've been locked up for 7 months, with my only trips being to the supermarket and back. Because right now, if things snowball, it'll be very difficult to reverse it. And that's what I'm hoping doesn't happen, because I feel like there's a lot of uncertainty and a lot of, you know, people trying to go for their own goals to just stop relationships altogether. And that's one, that's impossible. We need to maintain the relationship. And two, they're just trying to like make the other the bad guy, which is not the case. I mean, people are people. And like, that's what I really don't want people to mix up. Saying that somebody is from China doesn't make them a bad person. Saying that someone's from the US doesn't make them a bad person. Your political affiliation, regardless of what you believe, doesn't make you a bad person. You need to kind of have that dialogue to really see what the person's like and get to know them to really know if you're a bad person or not.